that's happening right now is we used to say that there's a couple subjects you stay away from when you're trying to be polite and have a good conversation, right? Politics and religion. The problem now is that everything is politics and religion. That's the problem. You can't steer away from those subjects because they're everything. You can't talk about your health. What did Henry Higgins say? You'll stick to the weather in your health? The weather? Really? You're going to talk about climate change and that's not going to lead to an argument? And your health? Seriously? Because anti-vaxxing is a thing. So that's the problem now. And so you can't avoid those conversations. The thing is that you have to learn how to have those conversations anyway, with respect for the other person. We are more polarized now than we ever have been since the Civil War. And think back for just a moment, because that means the Vietnam War, the Cold War era, we are more polarized. We are more likely to disagree with one another now than we were during the Red Scare. Okay? That's something to think about. The last time we were this polarized, the last time we disagreed with each other this much, we were killing each other, literally. Harvard recently completed a study, and when I say recent, I think that it ended in like 2013, in which they discovered that talking about yourself stimulates the same pleasure centers in your brain as sex, heroin, and cocaine. So you know those lab rat tests where they show the labs and the rats and they like get a pleasurable sensation, and so they're sitting there at the bed and going. So we're doing that. We're talking about ourselves all the time, and it's hitting a pleasurable center. Now, why is that a reality check? It's because you're gonna leave a conversation and you're gonna feel awesome about it. But the other person that was in that conversation with you is like, what the actual F? That person never stopped talking about themselves. But you feel like you just took a huge snort of cocaine. You're like, man! The one step that I especially wanted to focus on, besides listening, is I talk about not equating your experience with other people's. And this is the number one thing that I get pushback on. People have a really rough time with this. And what I mean by this is that somebody will say, oh, I lost my dad. My dad died over the weekend. And they'll say, oh, I'm so sorry. You know, I lost my dad 2 years ago, and that was really rough. You know, he died of cancer. Now, I'm no psychologist. I think that most of us do that out of really good intentions. I do. I think most of us think that that's showing empathy, that it's showing that you have a similar shared experience, and that you're trying to bond. But that's not how it works. 999 times out of 1,000, that is not how it works for the other person. Why? Because your experience is not the same as theirs. Losing your dad is not the same as them losing their dad. They are a completely different person in a completely different place in life. And number two, you're just drawing focus onto yourself. This person who's struggling now has to say to you, oh, I'm so sorry. Why would you want them to be forced to reach out to you when they've just reached out to you with pain? And I totally get that it's almost always well-intentioned. But you're actually demanding something of them instead of giving to them in that moment. The best possible thing you can do is ask them how it is. How is it? That must be really painful. Is there anything I can do? I mean, there's no words I can say. Because believe me, if you've read any of the topics on here's what not to say when someone dies of cancer, here's what not to say when they lose their job, blah, 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 right? You've all seen these posted. Here's what not to say. No, you can't say anything. Nothing is the right thing, except tell me. They've reached out to you and they've told you that they lost someone, so let them tell you. That's what that moment is for.
I wanted to know, what do you think about, what impact do you think Atlanta's creative class will have on the new Atlanta, on the future of Atlanta and where Atlanta's going?
It depends on how good that creative class is in assuming that you have something to learn. When growth is shut off, it's because we assume we're smarter than the other people. And look, there are stupid people in the world, absolutely. But they're an expert in something. They know something better than you do. There is something they know in which they are a master. And so you have to enter every conversation that you have assuming you have something to learn. Bill Nye says that all the time. Everyone you will ever meet knows something that you don't. And the problem with creative people, which often means smart people, the smarter that you are, the more likely you are to enter conversations getting ready to pass on what you know. And it's up in the air. We just have to see how willing we are to learn from people that we don't agree with.